Today is March 2nd, 2026. It is 2:26 a.m. This is like my, I don't know, what is it, fifth video overnight because I've been behind a lot of things. So I made a long list and I decided I'm going to record everything. So this is the next tweet. Oh, not that one, this one. Okay, breaking. Morgan Freeman just attacked Trump on live television. Quote, "We have somebody sitting in the White House who is leading us down a shithole. I can personally understand how a convicted felon get to be president." All right, 28 seconds. And then, is that a video? Okay, it's a short one. I'll play that as well. So let's listen.
We have somebody sitting in the White House who's leading us down a shithole. I can't personally understand how a convicted felon, 34 felonious, is that word? Counts of wrongdoing, gets to be president. How do you do that? We have...
Okay, it's playing over. 34 count convicted felon. So let's listen to this, and then I'll go to my next tweet.
Count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Those are the first 5 counts coming out of this jury, finding Donald J. Trump guilty on the first 5 felony counts. Reading the rest as we are getting it from our court reporters.
Starting with count 6.
Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. And you'll see on the screen we're tracking ahead. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. Count 12, guilty. Count 13, guilty. Count 14, guilty. Count 16, guilty. Count 17, guilty. Count 18, guilty. Count 19, guilty. Count 20, guilty. Count 21, guilty. Count 22, guilty. Count 23, guilty. Count 24, guilty. Count 25, guilty. Count 26, guilty. Count 27, we're seeing that on screen, guilty. Count 28, guilty. Those are the first 28 felony counts here as read by the jury. Count 29, guilty. Count 30, guilty. Count 31, guilty. Count 32, guilty. Count 33 and 34, guilty. That is Donald J. Trump, defendant in New York versus Donald Trump, found guilty on all 34 felony counts.
So the person who put this, because of what he said here, so people don't think he's lying and claim defamation and all of that. So these were the 2 journalists who were counting, telling the fact. The other thing as well, it could have been more if the judge in Florida didn't do some of the thing that she did. It would have been more because was it last week or the week before, the prosecutor went to Washington and did his testimony. All right, let's leave that alone. Let's go to the next one. Was it that one? Let me make sure. 12. I don't want to skip. Once I'm done with this, I'm done. Okay, so this is new. Let's pause. The Israelis and the Americans do seem to have gone into this without any legal justification. Dame Emily Thornberry, chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Select Committee, speaks to BBC Breakfast after Israel and the U.S. launched strikes on Iran, killing the country's leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. All right, 1 minute and 46 seconds.
The Americans and the Israelis have gone into this without a plan as to what is going to happen next. We know that the regime is very deeply rooted, and it is not just a question of the one man in charge. Get rid of him and everything will change. It is most definitely not like that. And the concern is that in the next few days and weeks and months, that the country might descend into chaos, and that is really worrying indeed. And I mean, the other worry, of course, that I have is that there is also the Israelis and the Americans do seem to have gone into this without any legal justification without even attempting any legal justification. And I think to see international law undermined in this way is, again, a matter that should concern all of us, because without some form of structure, without some form of agreed laws under which we all operate, it becomes the law of the jungle.
What should the United Kingdom government do now?
I think that it's right that we don't get involved. It may be different if we get. I mean, obviously, we are at risk because we have troops throughout the region. We have posts there, and if any of our people get killed, then it may end up being a different situation. But at the moment, this is not a matter of self-defense. That is why there is no legal justification for it, and we should not be involved in it, and we have not been so far. The involvement that we've had has simply been a defensive one. So we have, as I understand it, aircraft in the skies, and we're there to defend our people and our assets, but we're not taking part in any form of forward attack on Iran.
All right. So what she says makes sense, but the implication of it, you may not see it. The UK is always behind certain things. All right, so I'm just going to leave it as that because I do not have any proof. But knowing how they are and things that have been done prior, let's leave it as that. Couple things that's trending right now. Kelly Osbourne, Article 5, that's for impeachment of Trump. I don't know. That Epstein file is getting people to shut their mouth and things like that. Okay, next tweet. Scott Ritter on Trump's war on Iran, quote, "We have hit 2 children's schools. We have bombed 2 children's schools, 63 dead children, little girls dead, their mothers waiting for their daughters to come home. There's 100 girls buried under the rubble being dug out now." Okay, 1 minute and 9 seconds.
We have hit 2 children's schools. We have bombed 2 children's schools. 63 dead children, little girls dead. Their mothers waiting for their daughters to come home. They sent their daughters to school on the belief that there wouldn't be a war because there was diplomacy going on, that there wouldn't be a war because Marco Rubio said he was traveling to the region on Monday. So they sent their girls to a school. The girls were in school, and we bombed it. And we bombed another one. There's 100 girls buried under that rubble being dug out now. Girls that will not survive. This is the horror of war. But what I'm trying to say is, at least when I was involved in the bombing of the Amaria shelter, we did our damnedest to make sure that it was a military target. We were wrong, and it haunts you forever. What in God's name could lead us to bomb 2 girls' schools? I'm involved in this. I did this for a living. I know you don't make those mistakes.
All right, so that's that. Let's go to the next one. I don't know what to say. All right, did I put that twice in one of my videos prior? But since this is a different video, let's continue. People forget, but it was Netanyahu who spread the lie that Saddam had weapons of mass destruction and implored the U.S. to attack Iraq. He's now used the U.S. again to do his dirty work, but this time against Iran. He might run out of his luck this time. Maybe it may not work the same way as before. My God, this guy is evil. And his son, I believe, is somewhere in Florida. Let's listen.
Bibi Netanyahu, the other night, when asked about what would happen if things went sideways in Iran, said, and I'm paraphrasing, they would be in for the biggest surprise of their lives. And I think that we all know what that means. This country, we know what I'm talking about, has become an absolute rogue state. We are dealing with an absolute maniacal, psychopathic rogue state. And until we do something about it, until we figure out and we make a separation from these people, and we get them separated from the Palestinians, and essentially separated from the whole Arab world over in the Middle East, we are going to keep and continuing going through this. You know, they're already talking about Turkey after Iran. Turkey. Better wake up.
Like I've said in past videos about how they try to turn the Middle East into another United States. Each country in the Middle East is going to be like a state and they control it. Let's continue. I said this a while back, but there they are. They're going from one country to another. And when I said this was my opinion, but I'm hearing it more now. All right, next tweet. The call is coming from inside the house. That makes so much sense. Trump will try to stop the midterm to try to save himself from impeachment as well as the pedophile cover-up allegation. And we need to keep on mentioning about the Epstein thing. It's benefiting the royal family with what's going on with the Middle East right now with Iran because they're not talking about it. And Andrew, it's helping many of those big business people because they're not talking about it. They are on the list. So there's a lot of reason. It's like a Hail Mary of what they did to Iran. Let's listen.
Mark my words that this attack on Iran is going to result within a month. We'll have an incident here in the United States where American citizens are going to die, and it's going to be labeled a terror attack. And of course, Iran is going to be responsible for it. But don't doubt for a second that it's not Iran who did it and that it originated right here.
That's right.
Because they will do whatever is necessary at this point in order to stop the midterm elections.
You know which place they need to be very careful is? Heavily democratic areas. Okay? Places where Democrats usually win, this is where they need to look at. Yeah, this is the pattern of things. They create the thing and then they're going to try to solve it. The same tactic in the UK. She's right.
And if we have a terror attack too, then that gives him reason to declare martial law, just for our safety, of course. But don't doubt for a second that something isn't going to happen, because it is. And they're going to blame Iran instantly. Mark my words.
Yeah.
It's coming. They'll do whatever it takes to stop us.
Yeah, I agree with her. I don't think Trump is going to make it to the midterm. All right, too many people just like him aid and abetted as well. It was a battle of wills, decency versus indecency. I bet you're 95% correct, especially if polling don't increase in his favor. Yeah, I mean, these are given. These are people who see reality. The storm is coming. Well, I'm thinking back in 2020. It was being written everywhere. Oh my God, this one is long. All U.S. wars have been for Israel for the last 3 decades. This is the real story. People are seeing things for what it is. Let's listen.
With the U.S. and Israel now actively at war against Iran after an unprovoked joint attack, I am going to tell you about the last time the U.S. invaded the Middle East and why. On March 20th, 2003, the U.S. invaded Iraq after a year-long campaign by the Bush administration to convince the entire world that Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. I joined the Marine Corps a week later, thinking I was going to be serving in the war of my generation. Only 5 weeks later, President Bush made an infamous speech declaring that the mission was accomplished in Iraq, right before what became a 20-year-long, $8 trillion war that claimed at least 1 million lives, 7,000 of which were American troops. But what was the point? Who benefited from this? Because it certainly wasn't America. Well, let's go back to a famous general named Wesley Clark, who blew the whistle on the real agenda. Clark was not an amateur. He was once the supreme commander of all NATO forces in Europe. He revealed that immediately after 9/11, the military was already discussing a plan to go to war with 7 countries in the next 5 years, even though none of them had anything to do with 9/11. The first 6 nations Clark mentioned were Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Somalia, and Sudan. And during the War on Terror, all of them were attacked or otherwise overthrown. That was because the Zionist agenda was to destabilize the entire region with manufactured insurgencies, which Clark explained were created by the CIA and nurtured in nations that were actually U.S. allies, like Saudi Arabia. Over the course of the next decade, every powerful anti-Zionist government surrounding Israel was brought down. That is what later allowed Israel to engineer the genocide of Palestinians in Gaza, wiping out hundreds of thousands of civilians. And they got away with it, largely because all of the powerful regional governments that would have stepped in to stop this bloodbath had already been taken out by the United States during the War on Terror. All along, it was actually a clearing operation using the U.S. military in service of the Zionists. At the end of Clark's list, there was one nation left, and it was last on purpose: Iran. This is the only large Muslim power left in the region that has not bent the knee to the Zionist agenda, and Israel needs it to be neutralized in order to commence with its Greater Israel Project, a plan for Israel to take possession of nearly the entire Middle East.
Okay, I swear to God, I did not know about this, but I saw it written all over. When you plug in little things here and there, wow, I did not know any of this. Let's continue. I need to record this by itself.
Looking back, I'm proud of my military service, but not because of what I served. It's because now and forever, I can claim that I put my own ass on the line for what I believe, even if I was misled at the time. That is the difference between me, along with 2.5 million other veterans, and the warmongering Zionist political elites and the cowards that support them on social media from their couches. Today, we're on the brink of making the same mistake again. Trillions more spent, years more wasted, millions of lives taken, and for what? For Israel. But if you wake up and share this message, this time the whole world can know about it and push back before Israel takes us all into World War III.
Wow. Okay. This one is short. Let's listen.
Imagine how I felt the day that they finally came in and said to me, well, you know, we don't have 4 independent sources for that biological warfare van. It's one guy, and he's loopy, and he's in a German jail, and we've never talked to him. Hello? And I'm sitting there.
Well, how did you feel?
I felt terrible. And 6 months later, the intelligence community is still standing behind their original judgments, even though nothing has been found. I understood the consequences of that failure, and as I've said on many occasions, I deeply regret that the information, some of the information, not all of it, some of the information I presented, which was multi-source, was wrong. And it is a blot on my record. But, you know, there's nothing I can do to change that blot. All I can say.
Wow. May he rest in peace. Next tweet. My God. Now that we know better, I hope people, they do the right thing. Okay, historian Timothy Snyder on the pedophile führer, diabolical reason for attacking Iran. It has nothing to do with what most people think and everything to do with abolish American democracy and rigging the 2026 midterm election. That's another thing that I said. A Hail Mary. They was like, F it, let's do this. All right, let's listen. 1 minute and 38 seconds. I just hope people are paying attention.
2 quick thoughts on Iran. The first is the announced American purposes don't make any sense. It's really hard to change a government. Missiles won't lead politics to go the way you want. Even a ground invasion won't lead politics to go the way you want. You have to have patience. You have to have policy instruments, exactly the kinds of policy instruments that we got rid of in the first weeks of the Trump administration. The purpose of getting rid of a nuclear program, that just seems to be based completely on lies. It seems more likely to me that insofar as there's a foreign policy here, it's the foreign policy of our Arab allies and our Israeli ally who have much more direct interests in Iran. I think insofar as this has to do with American politics, it's domestic politics, and in particular, the need to create some kind of foreign conflict so that Trump can say, well, we have to do special things around the elections. I honestly think it's as simple as that. This is not a war which is going to be won in any clear sense. I don't think this is not a war that's going to have some sort of clear outcome. I think rather its purpose is to create some kind of shadow under which we can say, or rather the Trump administration can say, aha, terrorism, aha, exceptional situation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We know this logic. We can be prepared for this logic. Journalists and especially judges should be prepared for this logic and not allow it to go through. There's something horrible, specifically horrible, about trying to undo democracy by carrying out a foreign war.
Well, the only thing I'm hoping for, because we know better, and there are some really good people in certain places that will say, F it, enough is enough, and do the right thing. I'm not going to say what the right thing is up to them. So this is what I'm relying on right now in the U.S. people in position of decision making and position of power do the right thing and do what needs to be done to put things in perspective. What's happening may backfire. It might backfire Israel because they've been at it. They know how to manipulate the system. It may not be the way that they want it to. It may not be the way that they want it to be. It might backfire when they think they got everything under control, and then bloop, they snatch it away from them. All right, let's go to the next tweet. More TikTok videos. All right, let's pause. All right, nothing this gentleman said about the pedophile führer waging war against Iran and assassinating Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is wrong. All right, 1 minute and 19 seconds. All right, I'm just focusing on the TikTok video, okay?
Hi, good afternoon. How are you? I just wanted to let you know that we are all absolutely fucked. Because without congressional approval, not only did Donald Trump just go to war with Iran, which has sparked repercussions across the entire Middle East, but he assassinated the leader of that country. Now, Iran's government is absolutely horrible. They have committed tons of atrocities over the years that are too numerous to mention. But going in and assassinating their leader in the middle of the night is not what Donald Trump had in mind. I guarantee he wanted regime change and he wanted somebody more friendly, but he did not plan on assassinating their leader in the middle of the night. This is going to not only lead to Iran coming at us with absolutely everything they have, this now has governments around the world talking about cutting us off. And at the very bare fucking minimum, he needs to be impeached right fucking now. Presidents have always taken liberties in the past of attacking installations or places that might be dangerous to our national security. That's not what this was. This isn't even comparable to the already illegal move of kidnapping a leader of another country to charge him with crimes. This is the Iranian government confirming that their leader was assassinated by our government in the middle of the night. Again, the Iranian government now has absolutely nothing to lose. And those threats that they made to Donald Trump's life months ago are now going to be jacked up on fucking steroids.
This is the difference with what I said with, Moderno and Ayatollah. If they wanted Moderno to die, they would have done almost the same thing. The one with Moderno, it was a setup, and I think he was part of it as well. Okay? Go back to some of my videos where I illustrate or give my opinion how this came about. But with Iran, they want him gone. Okay, so while I'm listening to the video, a couple things came to mind. There's a possibility Israel wanted the U.S. to start it. Okay? They do their propaganda, make false allegation. There's mass destruction like they did in Iran, Iraq, and then now they give false information regarding Iran, and then they make the U.S. with their puppet president to start it. But Israel already had all the information, and then they just went and take out the leader. It could be Israel who did that. That doesn't mean the U.S. then started. U.S. started, Israel went over and cleaned up house. The other thing that came to mind as I was listening to this, what happened to Germany during the Nazi time where they exterminate the Jews. Okay, I think it's the same thing that happened in the U.S. The way the MAGAs take over our politics, by framing them, I was thinking because it's been in history book, things have been written, but then again, the people who write the history book tends to write what they want to tell you. But I have a feeling, in some aspect, the same way the Nazis took over Germany to do their atrocity, they hijacked the government of Germany to do their atrocity. They just did the same thing to the U.S. MAGA just did the same thing to the U.S. Okay? Hijacked the U.S. government to do their thing. What I mean by hijack? By framing the Epstein list and all of that. Okay? And you see they even taking their frustration on the American people, the civilians. That's the ICE agents. Okay? Some minds are very empty. They go They just follow whatever. Once they tell them money involved, they forget about reality. And the other thing as well, what is happening now, it's making it very dangerous for white Americans when they go outside of the US, because the world is watching. Okay, it's watching America. They always have an eye of what's going on in the US. So they're making it very dangerous to white Americans when they go outside of the US. They're not gonna look at American the same way anymore because of the last election. It's been very well documented that a lot of white and other groups have voted for this type of government. Alright? So if you go back to some of my old videos a little bit after the election, when I was saying I was a little bit depressed, and when I took my time and accepted it and do all of that, okay, I did say some part of this. They're making it very dangerous for white Americans when they step outside of the US. But anyway, the result, 92%, okay? They may have a different views for black Americans. I'm not in people's head, but because of the way people voted. All right, let's get back to the original recording. And it may not be the US who probably kill him. It probably Israel did its thing. And the other thing as well with what happened, because they tried to attack Iran earlier sometime last year. But when they realized that Iran had enough, bombing power to attack them, so they went back to their drawing board to see how they could go back to attacking them. These people are evil. These people are evil. There's no other words. Just pure evil. May God help us. Okay, so this is the next tweet. Many Americans thought they couldn't possibly get any angrier at the pedophile führer and his Epstein regime. They were wrong. This war of choice with Iran should at the very least begin impeachment proceeding against the loathsome piece of shit. Well, with all those people who are in Congress who pretty much probably are in the Epstein list, they can't, I don't know. They have them on the Epstein list. 15 seconds.
Fuck the United States and their war of aggression. Fuck Israel and its war of aggression. Every death here should be a reason to fucking end our leadership. End them. They all need to go to The Hague at the very least. That's just the start. Fuck the United States and their...
done. At least South Africa did its part. Next tweet. I'm focusing on the TikToks, okay? This one is 50 seconds. The pedophile führer's war with Iran isn't close to being over. All right, 50 seconds. Are there any more? So more comments. Let's just focus on that.
We got breaking news. The Iranians are going to close the Strait of Hormuz. I said this a couple of days ago, that if we strike the Iranians, they're going to close the Strait of Hormuz. If the Iranians close the Strait of Hormuz, well, that will affect all global trade. So, MAGA, not only did you start World War III, but you're about to increase the prices of everything you've ever purchased. Not from Trump's tariffs, which will also increase the price, but because now one of the largest trading routes is going to be a fucking war zone. Oh, did you think this conflict was over? Oh, because Donald Trump said, declared victory, pulled a good old mission accomplished. You thought this was over? No. Welcome to a new forever war in the Middle East. Your fucking kids are going to Iran.
Next tweet. All right. 85 children now confirmed dead, killed by Trump and Netanyahu because he thinks we're going to forget that he used to F little kids. All right. 1 minute and 34 seconds. Any more? Oh my God. Again, let's focus on those TikTok videos.
So the very first thing I talked about in my last post, my last Iran update, which didn't make it because I didn't check my homework before I hit post, is the fact that 85 children are now confirmed dead in the strike on the elementary girls' school by Trump and Netanyahu. It was an Israeli missile, apparently. Israel and the United States are very precise in their targeting probably some of the more precise in the world. So to think that Israel didn't know what it was doing, that's going to be a hard one to swallow.
What came to mind as I'm listening to this now that I'm editing it is to go back to pass legislations when the army, the military, was telling Congress that they do not need any more military equipment, weapons, and all of that. But Congress keep on saying yes, they do. I would like to go back and see who voted yes for some of these legislations. Who wanted the military to continue having weapons? Because this thing's been going on for a while. So they've been planning for this, for where we are now. I keep on bringing this up because the military keep on telling Congress they didn't need any more weapons, but the senators, whoever was saying yes, they do need weapons. I want to know who they are. I think there are a couple legislation we need to go back to and review to see who those people are. I mean, it is recorded. I think I could do that on my own. But what I mean by going back, for people to nationalize it, televise it, and review it for the public to see and create a discussion about that. It is recorded because there's C-SPAN and all of that. We probably could go back to some of this stuff, but I don't know. I'm just saying.
And they couldn't have done it without U.S. support. So 85 children killed so far. There are believed to have been 170 children in that school. It was the beginning of the week. It was the beginning of the school week when that school was struck. There may be as many as dozens either dead or trying to survive under the rubble.
My goodness. You know what came to mind is that the U.S., and the U.K. and many of these other countries, they do not want immigrants coming to their territory, to their homeland, to their country, but yet they're creating instability for people to want a place of refuge. This is freaking diabolical, wrong. Let's continue.
They're unaccounted for. The other big thing to know is that there are dozens of pages that are missing from the Epstein files that talk about Donald Trump raping a 14-year-old, and they're missing. You should probably talk to your Republican representative about both of those things.
Unbelievable. Next tweet. Oh my God. All right, let's pause. This one is 2 minutes. U.S. soldiers call on people to overthrow Trump and his administration.
I have a message for the American people. Last December, I encouraged you to give this new administration a chance. Time is up. Our government is compromised. Tyrants get promoted and patriots get punished. I am very concerned that we are on the brink of losing our constitutional republic to tyranny. We came extremely close during COVID, and it seems to me like everyone has already forgotten that it even happened. There has been no rectification and absolutely no accountability. The only way that I see we the people taking back our country is a ground-up revolution. We must abandon the America First movement as well as both political parties. I am calling for the God First, Liberty Second movement to be born in the United States of America.
This is the thing, all right? Our founding fathers did say the separation church and state, all right? Church meaning religion, and state, which is politics, to keep it separate. But this is what happened when you mangle them together, all right? Keep them separate. Because that's what somewhat they inch that into our system. Those what do you call them, those Jewish people, the Zionists.
This will take at least 8 to 12 years to accomplish.
A decade.
We must first take municipal seats, then county seats, then state seats, and then we will take back our federal government. If the spirit of patriotism burns within you, you are called to the work. For many are called, but few are chosen. We need those who otherwise never would have gotten involved in politics to step up and serve. What would your qualifications be? I can't say. But I can share what the Lord personally impressed upon me to qualify for me to participate in his work, and maybe it will guide you in seeking your calling. Number 1, you must keep yourself above reproach. If you have any vices, you must abandon them. Pornography, any sexual sin, any addiction, unrighteous anger, and pride were a few that were impressed upon me. The enemy of all freedom will use anything you do against you, so only do good. 2, you must prioritize your health and fitness. If you do not have a strong tabernacle to house your spirit, your emotions, and your mental health, you will struggle to overcome the attacks that surely will come. Number 3, you must trust in God with all your heart. There will be hard times ahead in this movement. If you do not have faith, you will not endure. Number 4, you must be willing to sacrifice everything. Your life may even be taken.
Yep.
Personally, I'm all in. I am currently running for mayor in the city of Eagle Mountain, Utah, where I reside. My primary election is taking place soon. If I fail to prevail, in 2 years I will run for city council, and then in 4 more years, I will run for mayor again. I am calling on patriots and freedom fighters everywhere to join this movement. You are called. It's up to you what you do to be chosen. I intend to preserve for my children what my parents' generation has failed to preserve for me. In the future for which I am fighting, my children will be able to afford a home. My children will be permitted to raise their children without the fear of the government indoctrinating them.
I agree with him in some part, and there's some part I don't. So he's pretty much promoting himself for a position he's running. But the separation of church and state needs to be very well divided. There should not be anything religion about politics. You could still have your strong belief in God. Okay, there's no one will ever deter me from believing in God. But when it comes to be human, to make certain decisions, you could use your empathy, whatever makes you who you are as a person, you vote based on that. But when there's so many other religions and people wants to do this and that, there's that tug of war. Keep that separate. Keep that out of politics. Let's go to the next one. I want, because at the beginning of his video, he said something about, he said to give Donald Trump a chance and things like that. I mean, having kids and this is the simplest example I could give people. Trump putting kids in cages should have been something for anybody to say, I'm not voting for this guy, despite many other things that he had done. Alright, so I think I'm gonna stop this video here. You know what, let me add this, and then that'll be it for this video, because I have more. Alright, Eric Bonet to MAGA, quote, I like the world better before your dumbass voted for a 34-time convicted felon and a justified sex offender who is in broad daylight, is looting the treasury, stealing from you and me. You're too stupid to see it because his administration covering up all of his crimes, which include a couple of sex trafficking, child murdering rapists, which according to FBI testimony, he's very much a part of it. Okay, part of. 53 seconds. Any things here? I'm not gonna go through all of these other things. Let me focus on that.
Motherfuckers in my comments be like, I liked you better when you were funny and you just sang songs. Yep.
That's part of our lives we're dealing here.
Well, I like the world better before your dumbass voted for a 34-time convicted felon and adjudicated sex offender who in broad daylight is looting the treasury, which is stealing from you and me, but you're too stupid to see it because his administration is covering up all of his crimes, which include a cabal of sex trafficking, child murdering rapists, which according to FBI testimony, he's very much a part of. Yep. I miss those days too.
He used to marry to Halle Berry. But anyway, this is the last video for, this is the last TikTok video for my video. So the next video that I'm gonna do, we're gonna start with this tweet, okay? And hopefully this will be the last video of the night. All right, let me pause. All right, so that is it. Please take a moment to subscribe, like, and share. If you want to support this channel, there's a PayPal link and a Cash App link in the description. You could donate. Those who have donated, thank you. All right, so that's it.
It is a great privilege to be with all of you today.
You know, we ask for forgiveness and please come back.